Coach Billy Briscoe, longtime coach at Gabe Rosado. Coach, how did this camp go?
The camp went great. We did a lot of the camp in Philadelphia, then we finished out our camp in Puerto Rico. It was real hot, really hot. So we were able to cut the weight. We got some good sparring. They got some good young, hungry fighters on the island, and they represented really well in the gym. You know what I mean? They gave us the kind of work we needed.
One thing I would love to know from you, Coach, after all these years of Gabriel fighting the best fighters out, right? What's keeping him going? What's keeping him motivated? What's still that spark after it's kind of been there, done that?
That's a good question. I often ask myself the same question. It's just he's always been a competitively driven person. Like even when he was a kid, when he came to the gym, I thought of him on. You know, if somebody got the better of him in sparring because they were, at a higher level, I gotta go get him. All right, we're gonna work on that. But he always had that drive. And actually, I started using them guys for measuring sticks, like benchmark, and he would get off on them. Then I'd have to get a better guy. So that was actually a good thing. But he's driven, man. You know, he said he took 2 years off. He said his body rejuvenated. He said a couple fights that he had that he looked lackluster because he had camp back to back. So he was training like he was 18 again. And he was, 35 or 37, So he, rest and recovery is a forgotten element of training, You got it, so that he takes great care of his body. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do drugs.
Do you think that's a lot of the key to his longevity, right? Because that's like an underrated piece of his game. Some guys burn bright, but it's short. And some guys burn for a long time, right?
Another thing I think that saved him is it hurt us a little bit in the beginning, but it saved him in the long run that he didn't have an extensive amateur career. I trained him for 2 years consistently, and then I turned him pro, and he only had like 14 amateur fights at the time. So he didn't have that extensive, like my son been fighting since he's 4 years old. He's got extensive amateurs out the wazoo. But, because it's wear and tear. It's like anything else. I like the analogy Teddy Atlas used to give us about the brick wall and the sledgehammer. Me and you hit it with the sledgehammer for months and years and weeks, and nothing happens. The little kid leans on it and falls over and knocks up. It wasn't that the little kid leaned on it, it was all the blows prior to the weekend to the point where it could be leaned on and knocked over.
Right.
And and a lot of gym wars, I don't subscribe to that. I'm from Philadelphia, but I don't subscribe to gym wars, because that takes a lot of toll. So, we try to preserve the body as much as possible.
What can you do for an experienced guy, like a guy that's 39, 40 years old, fought a who's who? What else can you teach or show to a fighter, and is he still taking in new tricks?
Well, the thing with Gabi, he's coachable, and he realized that no matter how... I remember, I'll tell you this story to get back to that. When I was a kid, I asked my mentor, Mr. Wesley Mozant, one of the greatest teachers that ever lived. I asked him, Mr. West, how long it took you to learn everything there is to know about boxing? He started laughing at me. I told him, I'm sorry. And he said, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing that you think I know everything there is to know about boxing. I was like, well, you knocked out the reigning lightweight champion of the world in 2 rounds when you were a kid. You did this, you fought Ike Williams to a draw, everybody knows you won. And then as a trainer, you took Dwight Muhammad Kawi from a 1-1-1 into pro with no amateur background to the light heavyweight championship, cruiserweight championship, and International Hall of Fame. He said, let me stop you right there, Billy. I appreciate you saying highly of me. Well, let me let you know a secret. You've been in the game 60 years, make 100 world champions, still learn something new. He said the reverse side of that, you've been in the game 60 years, make 100 world champion, and there's still somebody, you don't know what he's doing, haters. That's the way it is, So he always keeps an open mind and he learns, because at this stage, I mean, he knows boxing, but at this stage, it's all the little things put together that makes the bigger difference.
So at this point, with somebody that experience, you're sort of serving as a second set of eyes.
Exactly.
Right.
And then we work on this. I try to help him to stay, fundamental, because he's got so many tools that sometimes he doesn't.
It's tough to choose one to be assertive,
it's tough to choose. So we just start working on like a fight plan, and then we make the adjustments, and we just try to keep everything fundamental, because fundamental win fights, everything else supplemental.
Last thing I'll ask you, Coach. You talked about a few lackluster performances. What do you think has improved since those performances, or what do you think has been the biggest difference?
Well, I think he's mentally rejuvenated. The body gets burned out, you rest, it comes back. But when you get mentally burned out, that's a hard thing to come back from. And I think he was mentally burned out. A lot of these people that watch the fights, they don't know what goes on behind camp. You go to the gym, you see this shit is brutal, man. It's brutal. You put yourself through 8 weeks of torture. You got to break the body down and rebuild it. You're sparring, you're running, it's a lot. So what happened is, I think he just got mentally burned out by doing it back to back to back and not having no breaks in between. And then by having that rest, and then, by commentating, he was able to see certain things, and, he's seen boxing in a different light. Because years ago, I remember an old timer told me, he said, a fighter understands boxing, but he never fully understands it until he teaches it to somebody else. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, the Chinese have a philosophy that you never truly master something until you teach it to somebody else. Right. And I said, oh, yeah. And then I thought about it. And I taught this kid, he was a Muay Thai guy, the world champion. He was like 3-0 with me in boxing. And he said, yo, coach, he said, remember when you told me when I stopped fighting that I would start understanding these techniques on another level? I said, yeah. He said, I see what you're talking about now. Yeah. Because a fighter, by the time he's a professional, knows how to forward jab so instinctively, he doesn't think about breaking it down. Or left hook, he doesn't think about shifting your weight, transferring, you know. He doesn't think about the little intricate details to convey that punch. He just throw it, bang, this is how you do it. That's why guys like the great Sugar Ray Robinson, my mentor told me this. Guys like the great Sugar Ray Robinson and other great fighters, they didn't always become great teachers because everything came so naturally to them, they'd assume it comes naturally to you.
Right.
Like he'd come in the gym and he'd show us the left hook today, and the more he came in.
Jones going to show you how to lead with the right hand,
exactly.
do it that fast, and not get hit. Right.
And then if he comes back the next day and he showed it to us, you ain't paying attention, you know? It just came so naturally to them. They didn't realize, breaking it down.